For this experiment, we will need a bamboo skewer, a clothespin, a small rubber band, a pint jar, something to heat water with, something to heat water in, 1 to 2 cups of water, and something to stir it with. We will also need up to 6 cups of sugar. You're going to want to bring the water to a boil and add your first cup of sugar. It'll make your mixture cloudy, but as you stir it, you should see it completely dissolve. We'll continue to add sugar, about 1/2 to a cup at a time, until we have a completely saturated mixture. The way sugar crystals work is you super saturate the water, because when the water is at its boiling point or very, very hot, it can hold more sugar than when it is cold. So we are super saturating the sugar by heating it up to its boiling point and adding all of the sugar that will hold. And then when we pour this later into our pint jar with our bamboo skewer hanging down, as the water cools, it will no longer hold as much sugar, and that sugar will crystallize onto our skewer. So remember, each time when we're done stirring, we want it to be clear so that we know all of our sugar has been dissolved. Still a little bit cloudier. We're going to let it come up to a bit more of a boil here. We do want to make sure all that sugar is dissolved. If it doesn't dissolve, then the crystals will start forming where you don't want them to, around other little bits of undissolved sugar. It is starting to boil again. And I don't think we're going to have much more success with fitting any more sugar into this. So we're going to turn the stove off so that it doesn't burn. And we're going to prepare our container. Okay, so we'll want to take our glass container, our bamboo skewer, and a rubber band along with a clothespin. And the goal here is to suspend our skewer in the solution so that it's not touching the ground or touching the bottom. We don't want to interrupt the way the crystals form. And so we'll take a rubber band and put it on our skewer and roll it down a ways. And then we'll take our clothespin, suspend it in the liquid like this, and see how much further we need to go. There. Now it's not touching. Now I'm going to take this whole contraption back out, and we want to seed our sugar crystals. So I have my plate. I'm going to put a little bit of sugar in it. I'm going to dip my skewer in my mixture to get it damp. And then I'm going to roll it in some sugar here. And this just tells the crystals where we want them to grow. Perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead, move that out of the way. I'm going to go back to my sugar mixture, make sure it's still nice and clear, and I'm going to pour that into my glass container. This is definitely something you need an adult to help with. When you spill that on you, it's going to be exceptionally hot because it's hotter than boiling water because the sugar raises the boiling point. And it's also sugary, which means it's going to coat your hand and not come off. We're going to go ahead and suspend our bamboo skewer in the water and wait for our sugar crystals to grow.
So we set up this nice time lapse to look and see how our sugar crystals were growing. But as you can see, they didn't. So what we did was we took out our sugar water, we added more sugar to it, and we also rolled our sticky skewer in fresh sugar and let it sit to dry to make the sugar didn't fall off. So we did that all again, and now you can see that our crystals are growing. Your crystals should grow on the first time, but if they don't, know that it's not forever gone. And here is a look at our grown sugar crystals. We dipped these in a container of cold water very quickly in order to get off the sugar syrup so that we could get nice, clean, fresh crystals. And we really like the way they turned out. We also kept our container to look at and record over time to see how much more sugar crystals we grew in the bottom of our jar, because there's no reason not to. It was a fun little experiment as the water evaporates. I hope you enjoyed making your sugar crystals. And now we'll move on to borax crystals.
For this experiment, we'll need some thread, a pipe cleaner, a pencil, a pint jar or something similar, 2 cups of water heated to boiling, and about half a cup of borax. You'll also need a whisk for stirring with. So while we're waiting for our water to boil, we will work on making our pipe cleaner into the shape that we want it to be. So I want to do kind of a sphere shape. So I'm going to wrap mine up in increasingly bigger circles and then back down in smaller ones. I'm going to play with it a bit until it looks like how I want it to look. Just kind of stacking it to make it smooth and then popping it back up to see what it looks like. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to make sure that it can fit in my glass without any issues, and it can without touching the walls. Okay, so while we were doing that, our water came to its full boil. Pull that forward, and we're going to dump some of our borax in, just a little at a time. You want to make sure it goes back to clear. Every time you stir it. I went ahead and put that whole half cup in. Okay, we're going to turn the heat off on that. Push it to the back. And we're going to rig our contraption with our string. So you want to pull off a bit of string, and we're going to create a loop to hang it from our pencil with. And I'm just going to tie a quick slip knot. It's the kind of knot that has a little bit of a loop on the end. And then I'm going to pull another loop through that so I have something to hang from my pencil, so that we'll hang our wire in there this way. And now I want to see about how low I want that to hang, so I don't need much room on my string at the other end. Go ahead and tie another knot around the top of our pipe cleaner. That looks like it's gonna be way too low. Yep. String has a way of getting away from me like that. Loosen it up. Pull it up a little bit. There we go. That'll be perfect. Finish off that knot because that was just a half knot. Break that piece of string. And hang our ball in, see how it fits. I think that's looking pretty good. We'll pull our pot off the stove. Stir it up one more time, make sure it's all dissolved. And pour it into our jar here. Make sure you don't overflow it, and make sure that you leave room for your pipe cleaner to hang from it. So we'll hang our pipe cleaner, and it should take a day or a day and a half for this to crystallize. And then we'll have our crystals. I'm going to pour a little bit more water to make sure there's room for some to evaporate, because it's not quite covering my pipe cleaner. And from this we'll get a wonderful little ornament to hang from a window or on a tree or wherever to decorate your house.
Whereas the rock candy time lapse took about a week, this one took 12 hours. The crystals are hard, just as the sugar crystals were. And this ornament is reasonably safe for hanging from a window or on a tree. We'd love to see pictures of what you create. And if you're looking for more information about crystals, you can find some great discussion of snow crystals on our webpage.